My name is Roger Morrow, 56 years old, and for 15 summers, I was the man who rented the cottage that everyone said went so much smoother when I stayed out of the way. This past July, I came around the side of the boathouse and heard my son-in-law tell the neighbors from Lot 7 that the whole long weekend basically organized itself. While my Visa card was sitting on file at Pinecrest Rentals, holding a $3,200 deposit, he was grilling burgers under. Something went very quiet in me right then. At 7 o'clock that Friday evening, my phone started ringing. Not one call, one after another, every name in my contacts lighting up until the screen wouldn't go dark. I didn't show up that long weekend. I didn't pay a single dollar. I just didn't expect what came next. Before I take you back there, do me one small favor. Hit like and subscribe, and drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from. It helps more than you know. Now let me take you back to that July, to the planning call. That was the last one I ever sat through. My wife Beverly had loved the lake. That was where it all started. When she passed 15 years ago, breast cancer, the summer my daughter Cassandra turned 19 and my son Perry had just finished grade 10. I didn't know how to hold the family together. Beverly had been the one who gathered people. She had a gift for it that I never had and never pretended to. So I did the only thing I could think of. I kept the gathering. Every Canada Day-long weekend, I rented the Pinecrest property on Raven Lake up in the Haliburton Highlands. 6 bedrooms, a dock, a boathouse, the full thing. It was Beverly's kind of place. As long as the family kept coming back to it, I could tell myself she hadn't entirely left. The planning call happened every May. Video call now, but still a spreadsheet. My daughter ran it like a project manager, running a sprint review. She had the whole weekend mapped out. Who was sleeping in which room, what time the kayaks had to be returned, who was responsible for what. She assigned tasks to everyone. My son-in-law would handle the barbecue setup. Perry would do the boat launch. The cousins would bring the coolers. Then she got to me. Dad, you're good. Don't stress about a single thing. Just be there by 2. Just be there by 2. The kind of thing you say to someone you're managing, not someone you're including. What nobody on that call knew, what nobody ever asked, was that 48 hours earlier I'd already sent the e-transfer to Pinecrest Rentals. $3,200 to hold the property for the long weekend. Same as always. Same as every May since Beverly passed. I said okay. I said I'd be there by 2. I didn't say the rest. The pattern had started the second summer. My daughter had offered to take over the logistics, and I'd said yes because it seemed like something she wanted to do, and I was glad someone wanted to do it. What I hadn't understood was that logistics meant the part anyone could see. The welcome banner, the playlist, the themed lawn games. My part, the deposit, the grocery run I did alone at the IGA in Minden, the boat rental I booked through a buddy. Those were the infrastructure. Invisible. Nobody thought to ask where it came from, so nobody did. After a few years, it stopped even being a question. The cottage appeared every July. The fridge was stocked. The boat was on the dock. Magic, more or less. And my daughter took the credit in her social media posts, which I never minded. What father doesn't want his daughter to shine? 3 summers back, the brisket. I'd driven 2 hours to get there early and prepped the meat the way Beverly used to do it. The result wasn't what I'd hoped, dry, a bit tough. By the time the family sat down, the story had already changed. Dad insisted on doing the brisket, she told everyone at the table, laughing. I told him to just do burgers. She hadn't, but the table laughed and I let it go. 2 summers back, I told a story about pulling high-voltage cable up in Cochrane in the 90s. The kind of thing that used to happen in that work, before they changed the protocols. Long story, maybe. My son-in-law checked his watch where the cousins could see it. My daughter touched my arm. Okay, Dad, let people eat. I stopped mid-sentence and picked up my fork. I genuinely don't remember what I did wrong last summer. Something at the fire pit. By morning it was settled. I'd made things awkward again. Here's the piece it took me 15 years to see. Every single time I supposedly ruined something, there was a phone call the following week. Warm, almost apologetic. Dad, since last weekend got a bit rough, do you think you could cover the extra groceries? We went a bit over, and I always did, because covering for things felt like being needed. I never once connected the two. The blame one week, the bill the next. 15 summers of the same rhythm, and I danced to it without ever hearing the music. It took a Saturday afternoon in mid-July to finally hear it. I had driven up a day early with supplies. Pulled in around 3. The property already busy because some of the cousins had come the night before. I went to put the kayak paddles back in the boathouse and came around the side toward the dock. My son-in-law was out there with the couple from Lot 7, the ones who had the property next door. He had a beer in one hand and that voice he uses when he's the most relaxed man in any room. Honestly, Cass runs the whole show, he was saying. She's been doing this for years now. She just has a real gift for it. The woman from Lot 7 said something about what a wonderful tradition it was. Yeah, he took a long drink. It goes way smoother, honestly, when the old man just sort of hangs back. He means well, but he has a tendency to make things a bit. He made a gesture I couldn't see but understood completely. You know how it is. And then I heard her, my daughter, standing just behind him on the dock. She laughed, easy and warm the way she does when she's completely at ease. Not correcting him, not saying a word. I was standing at the corner of the boathouse, with 4 kayak paddles in my arms. I set them down against the wall without a sound. I walked back to my truck. I got in and drove back toward Barry, and I didn't turn on the radio the entire way. I want to be honest about that drive, because I've turned it over 1,000 times since. I wasn't angry. I kept waiting for the anger to come, and it never really did. What I felt was clear, like a fog I hadn't even known was. There had lifted all at once, and I could see the whole road laid out perfectly in front of me. That night I opened a spreadsheet at my kitchen table. I worked in utilities for 30 years. I trust numbers. Numbers don't rearrange the story depending on who's in the room. I went back through 15 summers, the Pinecrest rental, what it had cost each year, and what it costs now. The grocery runs I did alone, sometimes $800 at the IGA, sometimes more. The boat rental through my buddy in Minden. The fireworks I bought every June from a place outside Aurelia. The canoe I'd purchased outright in year 4 because renting one every summer had stopped making sense. The total sat there on the screen in my dark kitchen. I won't say the number out loud, but each summer it averaged out to roughly what a decent used truck costs. Stretch that over 15 summers, and you're looking at a down payment on a house, or the comfortable retirement my doctor had been gently suggesting I think about. I'd handed it over a summer at a time and called each summer love. Then I did the other calculation. In 15 years of paying, how many times had I felt like a father at that dock, and not just the check the family cashed? I couldn't get to one. That was when I decided, not in anger, in clarity, and I wasn't going to fight anyone to do it. I was simply going to stop, and I'd do it the right way. I wouldn't leave a vendor in the dark or a stranger holding my mess. Monday morning I made the calls. Linda at Pinecrest Rentals answered on the second ring. I told her I was the account holder on the July long weekend booking, and I wanted to cancel my reservation and remove my payment information from the file going forward. A pause, keys clicking. Mr. Morrow, you've been with us since 2010. Is everything all right? Everything's fine, I said. I just don't want to leave anyone stranded. My daughter, Cassandra Whitmore, is the one who coordinates the weekend on the ground. If she wants to keep the booking, she can set it up in her own name and put her own card on file. I'll give you her number and you can reach out to her directly. Another pause, longer this time. Just so I understand, the booking has always come through your account? Every year? Every year, I said, but not this one. I made the same call to the grocery delivery service in Minden, to the boat rental, to the fireworks plier. Same words each time, more or less. Cancel my account. Here's my daughter's name if she wants to continue the order herself. I'm not leaving anyone short. I'm just taking my name off the bottom of the page. It took less than an hour, 15 summers, undone over a coffee at my own kitchen table. Linda from Pinecrest said something before she let me go that I've thought about since. I hope everything's all right at home, Mr. Morrow. I told her it was, finally. Perry came by Tuesday after work still in his work boots, smelling like copper fittings and joint compound. He stopped in my doorway, looked at me for a second and said, "You're different. What happened?" So I told him. The dock, my son-in-law's voice, my daughter's laugh, the spreadsheet, the calls to Linda and everyone else. My son sat down at my kitchen table and put his face in his hands for a moment. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. "Dad." He shook his head. I've been trying to say something for 3 summers. Every time I started, she'd cut me off before I got 2 words out. "You were one voice against the room," I told him. "That's a hard place to stand." "It's still not right." He wiped his face with the back of his hand. What do you need from me? Nothing loud, I said. I don't need you to fight anyone. I just need you to tell the truth if anyone asks you directly and straight. He held my eyes for a long moment. Then he nodded once the way his grandfather used to nod, slow and certain and final. If they ask me straight, he said, I'll tell them exactly what I've seen. There was something in how he said it, like he'd been carrying something of his own, waiting for the right time to put it down. I didn't ask what. Looking back, I should have. My daughter called Wednesday evening. Bright and breezy, the way she always opened. Hey Dad, so? Pinecrest reached out about the booking. They're saying the account information needs updating. Can you just sort that out like you always do? And the Minden boat rental is asking for a card on file too. Like you always do. No question about why the accounts had been flagged in the first place. I'm not going to be handling that this year, I said. A small pause, a light laugh like she'd misheard. Sorry, what do you mean? I mean I've cancelled my bookings. The cottage, the boat, the grocery order. If you want to keep the long weekend going, you'll need to set those up yourself. In your own name, on your own card. The silence that came then was a different kind of silence. Dad. Her voice changed, climbed. Do you have any idea how many people are counting on this? You're going to ruin the summer for the whole family over what, exactly? Some grudge? Not a grudge, I said. Whoever organizes a gathering pays for it, that's all. That is so unfair, after everything I do. I told her good night. I meant it kindly. I set the phone face up on the counter and watched it light up again, and again. By Thursday, the calls were coming in from cousins I hadn't heard from since the previous summer, from an uncle on Beverly's side, from a family friend who just wanted to check in. Every message wore the same coat. Worried about me. This isn't like me. Think about the kids. Don't let pride wreck the summer. One cousin used the word selfish. I sat in my armchair and read every message, and I felt that old thing start to move up my spine. The guilt, 15 years of it, knows exactly where to find you. For about an hour, I nearly folded. I'll tell you that plainly. I thought, just pay it, Roger. It's one more summer. Keep the peace. What does it actually cost you? That voice is a persuasive thing. It sounds exactly like love. My thumb moved toward my daughter's name. Then my phone buzzed once, my sister Audrey. I know what's going on over there, and I know what you're thinking right now. Don't you dare fold, Roger. Not this time. I'm with you all the way down. My sister doesn't waste messages. When she says she's with you, she means it. I set the phone in my lap. My hands were shaking a little. I'm a steady man, but they were shaking. I didn't call anyone back. I didn't answer the cousins. I just sat in the quiet of my own house. The house I'd kept going for everyone else for 15 summers, and I let the phone ring itself out. My son-in-law didn't call. My son-in-law showed up. Friday morning, truck in my driveway, fist heavy on my door. I opened it. He filled the frame with that commercial real estate energy, jaw set, shoulders squared, the look of a man used to closing things. We need to talk, Roger. Come in then. He didn't sit. He stood in my living room like he was sizing it up. Cass is a mess, he said. People are driving up tonight and the property's not confirmed. Vendors are calling her like she's some kind of deadbeat. You're doing this to embarrass her. What am I doing exactly? I asked. You made a commitment every year. You don't just pull that out from under people 2 weeks before the long weekend because your feelings got hurt. What commitment did I make? That stopped him for half a second. You always pay, everybody knows that. Everybody assumed that, I said. That's a different thing. His face went red. He stepped closer. You're really going to do this over what? I thought about telling him I'd heard him on the dock. The old man just tends to hang back. I decided he didn't need to know that yet. The bookings have names on them, I said instead. Whoever's name is on them pays for them. You just never had to read them before. He stared at me like the furniture had started talking back. I walked to the front door and opened it. The warm July air came in off the street. Drive safe. He left, he had to. There was nothing left to say to a man who had finally run out of yes. I wasn't there when my daughter went to Pinecrest Rentals to rebook in her own name. Perry was. He told me afterwards, sitting at my kitchen table over a cup of tea, and I'll tell it the way he told me. She'd gone in assuming it would be a 5-minute formality, sign something, give a card number, be done. Linda sat her down and turned the monitor so she could see the account history. 15 summers of bookings, deposits, final payments, incidentals, all under the same name. We've had your father's account since 2010, Linda said. He's always been wonderful to deal with. Perry said his sister sat there and scrolled through without speaking. All those summers, all those amounts, line after line, the same name. Then she asked a question. He paid for all of this, every single year? And Linda said, yes, ma'am, in full, on time, without fail. She had never had to see the numbers because she had never once been the one to put her card on file. She'd taken credit for 15 summers she had never actually carried. What did she do next, staring down 15 summers she couldn't cover? She did what she always did. She turned to the next person she could reach. She called Perry. He put it on speaker so I could hear, sitting right across from him at my table. Perry, I need you to float me the deposit, just until I sort things out. Dad is being completely impossible and I'm stuck. My son looked at me. I said nothing. This was his line to draw. How much? He asked. She named a number, a real one. No, Perry said. Silence on the line. What? I said no. I'm not paying for a gathering the same way Dad's been paying for 15 years without a word of thanks. A long pause. After everything I've done for this family. After everything, what? His voice stayed level, but I heard the years in it. After you told the cousins 2 summers ago that I wasn't stepping up because I wouldn't loan money to fund your kitchen renovation. After you ran me down at every fire pit for a decade. Another pause. I never said any of that. Perry was quiet for a moment. You texted me, Cass. Last summer, after the fire pit, you called Dad. He glanced at me and chose the words carefully. You said he only comes up for the free lake time and that you're the one holding the whole thing together. I still have it. The line went very quiet. Delete that, she said. Her voice had changed, smaller. I'm not going to use it against you, Perry said. That's not how Dad does things, and it's not how I do things either. I just wanted you to know that I remember. A beat. I'm deleting it after this call. I don't want to carry it anymore. He hung up. He deleted the message right in front of me, right there at my table. He looked almost apologetic. She sent it a long time ago, he said. I held on to it too long. He set the phone down. We don't win this by throwing her own words back at her. We win it by being the people she said we weren't. I told him I understood completely. Let me step outside this story for just a second, because I have a feeling some of you know exactly where I've been sitting. If you've ever been the invisible one in your family, the one who paid and arranged and got treated like furniture, tell me in the comments where you finally drew your line. Hit like and subscribe so I know you're still with me now. Back to that Friday evening. The long weekend arrived. I stayed in Barrie. My daughter had scraped together enough to put a deposit down on the property herself, absolutely certain I would cave the moment the Friday came. She told a cousin I always do, that I'd hear the grandkids were there, and I'd quietly pull out my phone and settle the balance like I had 15 summers before. She wasn't wrong to bet that way. That had always been the safe bet. I put a small Canada Day flag on my front porch. I bought a 6-pack of Sleeman. Perry came over and we barbecued in my backyard. At 7 that Friday evening, my phone started. First call. Linda from Pinecrest, trying to confirm the outstanding balance before the family could fully check in. Second call. The Minden boat rental, same issue. Third call. My daughter. I watched her name glow and pulse on the screen and I let it go. Not out of spite. I had nothing new to say. I had said everything I needed to say, clearly and kindly. There was nothing left to negotiate. Then they came faster. My son-in-law, a cousin, an unknown number, my daughter again. The phone barely went dark between them. I set it on the kitchen table and watched it light the dim room up like a little fire. Perry and I ate in the backyard. Clear sky, the first real heat of summer. The kind of evening Beverly would have called perfect. Around 7:15, a different name came up, my sister. I answered. Roger. Her voice was low. You need to come up here. Audrey, I've already said everything. I know what you said. This isn't about the money anymore. A pause. Behind her, I could hear the noise of a gathering that had gone tense and strange. Something is happening here, and you should be in the room for it. Not through Perry. Not through me, you. I held the phone. What's happening? Linda from Pinecrest is here trying to process the outstanding balance, she said. And there are about 15 people in this yard who are about to find out who has been paying for this place since 2010. She let that sit. You earned the right to be here for that, Roger. Don't give it away by sitting in Barry. I looked at Perry across the yard. You're not driving up there to pay, Audrey said, reading my silence the way only a sister can after 60 years. You're driving up to be seen. There's a difference. I picked up my keys. I drove Highway 35 north through the dark with no bank card in my wallet. I want you to know that. I left it on the kitchen counter on purpose. For the first time in 15 summers, I was bringing nothing but myself. I parked at the bottom of the Pinecrest Lane and walked up through the pines. The property was lit up warm. The string lights I'd paid a company to hang glowing through the trees. The dock lit over the dark water. A Canada Day banner across the boathouse entrance. I came around to the main yard. The crowd turned. It's a strange thing, walking into a gathering that your money built, where you've always been the one they found a way to sideline, and feeling the whole yard go still because you've arrived. The music kept playing, the people did not. My daughter was standing near the boathouse door with Linda and her open folder. She wasn't flawless anymore. She was pale, and the performance had slipped off her face. My son-in-law stood just behind her with that real estate composure slightly unraveled. The couple from Lot 7 stood close enough to have heard everything. The same people he'd spoken to on the dock. My daughter saw me and something moved across her face. Relief, almost. Like the cavalry had come, like Dad always comes. Dad. She stepped toward me, voice pitched for the yard. Thank goodness. There's been a mix-up with the accounts. Just tell Linda you'll sort it out like you always do and we can all. There's no mix-up, I said, calm, not loud. The yard leaned in. Dad, you're doing it again. Her voice sharpened, reaching for the old script in front of the old audience. You always find a way to make things difficult. Every single summer, there's something. 15 years of being told I made things difficult. Said out loud here, in a yard full of people who'd eaten my groceries and slept under my booking for 15 summers. I didn't raise my voice. I haven't made anything difficult, I said. I've just stopped paying for a weekend, where I spend most of my time being told to hang back. The yard went so quiet you could hear the lake. Linda, doing her job and genuinely confused by what she'd walked into, looked between me and my daughter. I'm sorry, she said carefully. I just need to confirm the outstanding balance for the weekend. I should mention. She paused. This is the first year the booking hasn't come through Mr. Morrow's account. 15 summers. Always his name, always paid in full. I just assumed. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The yard did the arithmetic across a dozen quiet faces at once. I watched it move. Through the cousins who'd sent me the word selfish. Through the couple from Lot 7 who'd just heard my son-in-law say, I had a tendency to make things awkward. Through every person who had spent 15 summers complimenting my daughter on what a beautiful property she always found. Now turning to look at the man who had always been directed to the chair by the fire pit at the far end of the dock. I didn't say a word. My son-in-law's face was the one I watched. He'd been wearing a loose, easy smile since I walked in, the look of a man who still thought the yard was his. I watched it go. Watched it leave him as the neighbors he'd performed for. On that dock understood exactly who had been carrying the thing he'd been taking credit for. He looked at the couple from Lot 7. They looked at the dock. Then Perry stepped out of the group, still in the clothes he'd driven up in after leaving my backyard. He stood in the middle of that yard, without raising his voice, without rushing. I want to say something, he said, looking around. Since we're all here. He let a beat of quiet settle. For a long time, the story every summer was the same. Dad made it weird. Dad should hang back. Dad gets in the way. He let that sit. I heard it so many times I almost started to believe it. Nobody moved. But here's what nobody ever said out loud. The man who supposedly made things difficult was the only reason any of us ever had a place to be difficult in. He paid for all of it. The property, the boat, the food in the fridge when you got here, the lights you're standing under right now. His voice caught just slightly. And we let him sit at the far end of the dock and called him the problem. Someone set a drink down. One of the cousins who'd texted me looked at her shoes. Then Audrey stepped up beside him, my sister. The one person in this family everyone listens to without needing to ask why. I've watched this for 15 summers, she said, and her voice carried without effort. I told myself it wasn't my place to say anything. That was my mistake. She looked at my daughter. Your father is not the man who makes these summers hard. He is the reason these summers happen at all. Every single one of them. My daughter's mouth opened, closed. For the first time in 15 years, nobody laughed. Nobody touched an arm to steer the moment somewhere kinder for her. No redirect, no easy chuckle to take the edge off. The silence belonged to her now, all of it. Perry looked at me across the yard. My dad didn't make these summers awkward, he said. My dad was the summer. I let my son's words settle over the yard and the dock and the dark water behind all of it. Then I spoke, because some things a father should say for himself. I'm not here to embarrass anyone, I said. That's not why I came. I looked at the faces around me. Family, neighbors, people I'd fed and housed for 15 summers without any of them ever having to think about where it came from. When Beverly passed, I kept this going because she loved this lake. Because as long as the family kept coming back here, I could tell myself we were still holding together. That was the deal I made in my own head. I felt the old grief move through me, quiet and familiar. But somewhere along the way, I started believing the only way to keep my family was to fund them. And once you believe that, people will let you. Nobody moved. I'm 56. My doctor tells me to cut back on stress. I'm done buying a seat at a table where I'm mostly asked to stay out of the way. I looked at my daughter. I'm not angry with you, but I'm finished paying to be an afterthought in a room I built. She was crying now, quietly, the whole performance entirely gone. Here's how it goes from here on. Whoever hosts pays. That's only fair. And me, I'll be here if I'm wanted as a father and not a checkbook. I paused. That's all I came to say. I turned toward the lane. The pines were dark on either side of it. Nobody reached for my arm. Walking out into that warm July night, lighter than I'd felt in 15 summers, I understood something I hadn't before. For once, I'd kept the summer by leaving it. Perry told me the rest. People drifted out within a couple of hours, the way folks do when the air's gone out of a gathering. The couple from Lot 7 said their polite goodbyes and took their new understanding home with them. My daughter settled what she could that night and worked out a payment arrangement with Linda for the balance. The full weight of one long weekend landing on the woman who had taken credit for 15 of them. I won't pretend I felt nothing hearing that. Not triumph. Closer to grief. It's a hard thing to watch your daughter feel a weight you've been carrying for her for 15 years. The story moved through the family the way stories do. By August, the version going around was no longer, Roger always makes things weird. It was, did you know what they let that man carry for all those years? The couple from Lot 7 sent a card, handwritten, we're sorry for the assumptions we made. You've always struck us as a decent man. Now we know why. A couple of cousins called. The one who'd used the word selfish couldn't quite come at it head on, but she tried, and I let her. I wasn't in the business of collecting debts of shame. I'd had enough of debts. My son-in-law went quiet. The thing about a man who builds his reputation on the impression he makes. The neighbors he'd performed for on that dock were the same neighbors he'd hoped would send him referrals. He'd spent that currency in one careless afternoon, and it didn't come back. I spent that Canada Day evening in my own backyard with Perry and his girlfriend, a kind woman who asked me about my years working for the utility company, like it was genuinely interesting to her. Audrey came by later with a pie she'd made. It was the best long weekend I could remember in 15 years. 2 weeks after, my phone rang with a call I didn't expect. My daughter, not bright, not breezy, just tired. Can I come over, just me? She came alone, which told me something. She sat at my kitchen table, and for a while she didn't say much. I looked at the Pinecrest statements, she finally said. Linda sent me the full account history. Okay, I said. Dad, she turned her mug in her hands. I swear I never sat down and actually looked at any of it. It was always just handled. You handled it, so I never had to think about it. So I didn't. I know, I said. I made it easy not to. We sat with that for a while. Shane is furious, she said after a bit. Not at himself, at me. He keeps saying I made him look like an idiot in front of the Hendersons. A short, bitter sound, like that was my job to prevent. There it was. The whole arrangement, the moment the money dried up, turning on itself. I let it pass. I don't know how to do this, she admitted, and her voice broke a little. I don't know how to plan something and actually pay for it. You always. She stopped. I'm 35 and I couldn't cover a weekend I've been calling mine for a decade. And I felt it then. Not vindication. Just the plain, sad truth of it. I had done this. Not the cruelty. That was hers and her husband's, but the helplessness. I'd paid for everything so long that my own daughter had never learned to stand on her own. I'd called it love. It had crippled her. You'll learn, I told her. You're not too old to learn. She looked at me like she wanted to believe it. After she left, the old voice came back. The reasonable one. She came to you. She apologized. She's struggling. Why not help her out just this once? Cover the Pinecrest balance. You have it. What's it for if not your kids? I sat with that voice for a long time. It's a persuasive thing, 15 years deep. I actually opened my banking app. Got as far as the transfer screen. 3 taps and I'd be the man who fixed it again, the needed one, the one she'd call first next May. That was exactly what frightened me. My phone buzzed. Perry. Whatever you're thinking about doing right now, don't. I almost laughed. The boy knows me. 30 seconds later, Audrey. Saw Cass's car at your place earlier. If she asked for anything, the answer is the same as last month. I closed the app without doing a thing. It turns out the hardest part wasn't walking into that yard, or standing in front of all those people, or saying what I said to my daughter's face in front of the neighbors. The hardest part was sitting alone in my kitchen afterward, and not rescuing her from a lesson she needed to learn. Love, I was finding out at 56, sometimes means letting the people you love stand on their own 2 feet, even when every part of you wants to reach out and catch them. The next summer looked nothing like the 15 before it. No Pinecrest property, no 6-bedroom lake house I'd been invisible inside. Perry suggested we use my backyard and the community park at the end of the street. Potluck. Everyone brings something. Everyone pays for what they bring. It was smaller. It was real. My daughter came. She brought a pasta salad she'd made herself, a little overdressed but made with her own hands, and she came with no spreadsheet and no assignments for anyone else. Just my daughter, quieter than I'd ever seen her, asking if she could help set up the folding table. She and my son-in-law were separated by then. She was figuring things out. She'd thrown a birthday party for her kids that spring and paid for it herself, and she'd called to tell me about it, genuinely proud. I'd been proud right back. That August evening I sat at my own backyard table, not because I'd paid for it, but because my family put me there. Perry's girlfriend asked me questions about Beverly that made me smile. Audrey bossed me around the barbecue, which felt exactly right. The neighbors from down the street drifted over, and someone handed them a plate. Late in the evening, my daughter found me by the fence. We stood there looking at the yard. I owe you more than I know how to say, she said quietly. I'm not going to try to get all of it out tonight. I'd get it wrong. You don't have to, I told her. I do, just one part. She turned to face me. Thank you, Dad, for all those summers. I never once said it. I never even really saw it. Her voice went thin. I'm sorry it took losing it to see you. No clipboard, no ask hiding behind it, no balance due. Just my daughter, 15 years late and meaning every word. I forgive you, I said, and I did. Not because the apology was perfect, because carrying it was heavier than setting it down, and I was done carrying things that weren't mine to carry. She cried a little. I put my arm around her, and for the first time in 15 summers, it didn't cost me a thing. It was worth more than every e-transfer I'd ever sent. Here's what I know now, and I'll give it to you plain, the way I wish someone had given it to me at 40. You cannot buy your way into someone's respect. You can only buy your way into being expected to keep paying. The day I stopped funding the summer was the day I started belonging to it. Self-worth isn't something you spend money to hold on to. It's something you finally decide you're allowed to keep. I keep mine now. I earned it. Everyone went home that August evening. Perry and his girlfriend. Audrey with her leftovers wrapped in foil. My daughter with her kids asleep in the back seat. I stood in my doorway and watched the taillights disappear down the street. Then I went inside, turned off the porch light, and stood for a moment in the quiet of a house that was finally, completely mine. 15 summers, I'd kept things going for everyone but myself. Tonight, the people I loved had shown up for me. I'd kept those summers by paying for them. This one I'd kept by being worth showing up for. I turned off the last light and went to bed a free man.